It is time. It is time for the final match of the CTO League versus Darksiders. Hello guys, welcome back. This is Saxo, your host, and this is the final game of week 5 for the CTL League versus Darksider games. And today we have Giannis Kouris fighting off Chris Higashi for the final match. Right now each team is 2-2 and there has been really many ties. There are many teams with pretty much the same score overall, so this could be very easily the defining game that could potentially spring the tide towards the one team or the other. So we have Giannis Kouris with Oldhim, Grandfather of Eternity, facing Higashi with Bravo, Star of the Show. So a quick reminder, because the latest banner restricted list has been announced after the teams have been announced, this week, the final week of the CTL League, is without the bannings and restriction. That means that Awakening and Sonata, Shenanigans and Scaletta are still legal, and so is Autumn Stats. So don't start spamming in the chat if you see any illegal cards yet. It's the last time we will get to see them in action with the current meta. So Oldhim to Starvo, we see here 4 roll from Kouris and something somewhat bigger because he already has a 4. The opponent, no, it looks like we will have a reroll. So Oldhim to Starvo. Well, pretty much most of the time Starvo was the Oldhim actually was the original elemental aggressive guardian type of hero. He was the original guy to play this really disruptive deck, even though most of the time in Aria we have connected Oldhim to deck or archetypes that want to fatigue you or make you run out of resources, but we've seen many times, Oldhim having this play style, that having this really aggressive disruptive blade style that really honestly the older Bravo used to do. And then on Everfest, Bravo started the Somke, and it has been wild ever since he came out in Everfest. If you have been active in the past season, he has just been massive. I don't think ever a character will be as fast to accumulate these many living legend points as Bravo, Star of the Show, and that's, I don't know, he has been amazing. The aggressive style of deck that a Guardian paired with disruptions can play has just been so amazing. So Oldhim to Bravo. So in most cases Bravo Star of the Show just feels like on this mirror match a version of the same deck that has way more tools in it. I mean, the whole lighting aspect of Bravo Star of the Show just gives him so much more explosive turns. It just gives so much more aggressiveness, and it really, honestly, something that's been dealt with ever since Bravo came out is that it's almost impossible to fatigue Bravo Star of the Show. It's almost impossible, so there is no way for an Oldhim to even attempt to have a strategy like this. So it really comes to the point if Oldhim is able to disrupt enough the Bravo Star of the Show to a point where he's not able, to fully utilize his 4-card hands, his 3-card hands, to not have his sweet effects that he really wants to do with his 3 elemental cards. And from the other side, Bravo Star of the Show, if Bravo Star of the Show manages to play his game plan against an Oldhim, it feels great. It feels great that just the sheer value of having the 3 elemental cards and swinging into a 9 dominate Guardian into a hammer, its turn is devastating enough for him to gain enough life total lead. So I'm guessing the toughest part from each side is if they are going to use Awakening at all, because the old team could low-key attempt to old teams traditionally run a lot of defense reactions, okay, and the two cost defense reactions could, just work so well against the really disruptive turns of the Bravo, because apart from his disruptive turns, most of his other attacks don't have any hit effects, so from the Bravo side of things. So if you do have the red defense reactions or the critical times, it might be enough, to negate these really, really, really disruptive turns that, Bravo Star of the Show could pull off. So that's something they should witness. And I'm saying all that because it's really interesting to see if which route the players are going to take. So if Awakening is being run, if any anti-fatigue guards are being run, but it really depends on how aggressive deck of Bravo Higashi is playing. So right now, probably Bravo started the show, and even after the banner restricted announcement, I think we will see probably two versions of Bravo Star of the show. One being the typical Captain Plant version, as it has been called, the element heavy deck that really wants to pull off from the top a triple element each turn and pressure up and push to a point where his just sheer aggression is just immense for any player to be able to handle that. And from the other side, with the lights that, if I'm not mistaken, a Battle Hardened has been played from with the latest, the Hamilton style list with a lot of defense reaction that really wants to, play a second cycle type of deck, and it's really interesting to see which deck Higashi has chosen to play. It looks like even though he won, he allowed Oldhim to have the first turn, so it makes sense. Bravo Star of the Show most of the time wants to have the first turn, for the potential free points of damage being dealt, because even a 9 dominate attack is enough to chip some damage. But it looks like probably we might see a slower approach from the Higashi side, and looks like we will witness, guessing, yeah, that should be a Bravo activation. So red Autumn stats, channel Lake Frigid, Heaven's Close, the 3 elements, 2 blue cards, just the greatest kind of hand you want. So Autumn stats, honestly, I'm really happy this guard is going away for the next Pro Tour season, and until Bravo Star of the Show reaches Living Legend. So right now, that's exactly the type of style that, Bravo Star of the Show wants to play. Autumn stats, swing for 9, dominate, go again, and having an extra ice card to swing for 4 and an extra frostbite. So already, if Bravo Star of the Show manages to pull exactly the same line for 6 turns, the game is over. I mean, there is virtually no way for Oldhim to be able to come back from this match pressure. But the thing is, what kind of tools did Giannis Kouris chosen to have in order to be able to either disrupt the play style of Bravo, so it looks like we will see an blue evergreen being pitched in order to activate ramparts and 2 floating that should, how it's called, message us, give us signs that he could potentially have, in a defense reaction in hand. That's the clean to floating, but it looks like no, just a clean pitch, no activation of Crown of Seeds, no other effects, and it looks like, yeah, Giannis Kouris will take the 8 and another swing with hammer, and there it is. So 2 floating. Does everybody know what that means? So let's have a guess. He could have a defense reaction, or since he took the damage, and Awakening. So $1 million to everyone who managed to get this card. So a quick reminder again, this is the last week of the CTL League that is not playing by the rules of the latest announcement, because it was a bit earlier when it was announced. We have already given the hero pool, so no bans and restrictions for this week. So we could potentially see the first awakening being played, or just another defense reaction in order to block the Winter's Wail. So for Frostbite facing against Oldhim, so Frostbite doesn't really matter a lot if you have like, I don't know, 18, if you have something like 18 seismic surge. But we will see. It looks like that, Giannis Kouris, the Oldhim player, is still thinking if he wants to do the value block against the Winter's Wail, and there it is. No, no, no. It looks like we will see the Awakening being played. Nice, before the Frostbite hits, not making him destroy a card. So Awakening. So because it was fused, it makes a massive 16 seismic surge token, meaning that virtually any attack, not virtually, I mean any attack in his deck right now is free and is even discounted, even though there is a Frostbite on, there will be a Frostbite on Oldhim's side. So right now, it's really interesting to witness how greedy, or how the greedy line did Giannis Kouris went to. I mean, we could see a Pulverize, or I could see that he might not want to get too greedy against a deck like Bravo, so it depends that, Awakening has been used a lot of times for these, value tutor card, a card that, and there it is, a knock and old, so great. Not the huge pulverize and stuff like that, and it makes sense because Awakening honestly is such a great card, be allowing you to fetch for anything, and it's really strong. It makes sense that, LSS wanted to deal with this card because it just goes to these huge turns, and here we could potentially see the sheer value of this card. So right now we have a 12 life totem lead, life difference, and the Oldhim player does have 4 cards in hand, virtually 4 cards in hand, so he has a knock and old, an earth card, and a billion seismic surges. So let's see if Awakening is able to give him enough tempo to swing back this game. So there it is, a red Frostfang and a blue Autumn stats being fused to play in Okenold. So 9 dominate, no go again. We are playing Oldhim, remember folks, no go again on the Oldhim guy. On the old Grandpa, it looks like we will see a 9 dominate being swing. So 9 is not a huge number. It's right now it could be something that could be potentially being blocked by Bravo side of the show, because again, if he's not running the Captain Planet style of deck and he's running more like, a defensive kind of list that wants, to take the game as slow as possible, we could potentially see him being able to fully block the Oakenol. So right now it looks like we will see a Crown of Seeds activation from Higashi's side, here leaving one floating, pitching a Pulse of Candlehold. It looks like that he wants to somewhat protect his card. Having 2 floating might be a bit blue starved as well. So right now 1 point of damage has been virtually being blocked, then the next point of damage that will be dealt will be prevented from Crown of Seeds, and it looks like so just 8 more for the starter player, and again not huge. We've seen when Stalagmite being used and Crater Fist, so pretty early use of the equipment, but makes sense. So, and it looks like there is one floating in order to activate the Ironhide legs, and that will bring him up to 7. That means that just an additional 3 points of block are enough to fully prevent any kind of damage to go through. So right now he has blocked for 5, he just requires 4 more points of damage to block with. And it looks like he wants to give a card, and he has his hand. No, it looks like Ironhide legs will be used as well. That means that it's 2, 4, 6, 7, 9. So fully blocked to the Okenold and producing a Frostbite token to the Oldhim player. Frostbite not being as relevant right now as because it won't really matter during the end of his turn. So right now it looks like this. It's for 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 fully blocked, and it looks like we will see an end of turn from the Oldhim style, and a lot of equipment have been used in order to fully block the attack, and that's probably a great it was really good from the side of Bravo that he managed to fully block this card, but the equipment have been expanded. He right now has only 3 cards in hand, so it's really important to see what kind of turn he will have. But the thing is right now that if Bravo right now really wants to slow down the game, because he has a healthy 12 life total lead, and that means that if he manages to fully stop the game and go back to a point where they are just exchanging blows, he might be. And wow, it looks like we will see a full pass from Bravo, star of the show, just putting a card in arsenal and expecting the next move from Oldhim. So Oldhim officially right now has the tempo on his side at the cost of 12 point of life, at the cost of the massive 12 life difference. It looks like that Oldhim will get back the tempo, and it's a pretty important step for the Oldhim right now, because if we have seen games with Guardians where when they get the tempo they just never allow the opponent to get a turn. It is possible. It's not easy to happen, but it is possible, and a lot of equipment have been expanded from Higashi's side. So it's really important that right now we do know. Oh, there it is, a second Old. Wow. So right now we do know that he did have a Frostfang and an Autumn stats. We didn't know about this card, and it looks like we will see a second Oceanol being played. So right now, unless the card in Arsenal or a card in his hand is a defense reaction, the second Oceanol I don't think is blockable right now with just 2 points of equipment. So it looks like we will see a blue Frostfang being used in order to activate Crown of Seed, I'm guessing, having 2 floating. So 2 floating could telegraph us that he might have some kind of defense reaction. But from the cards I'm seeing he's pitching, I'm guessing he could be running or could side it in the more aggressive style of Bravo, star of the show, and that means that probably he could have been expecting the more defensive style from Giannis Kouris. But to be honest, we haven't really seen any telegraphing cards from either side, so it looks like we will see a block with a Crippling Crush from Bravo, star of the show side, and I don't think second block is able. Yeah, because Oceanol, when fused, does have Dominate, so only one card is able to be used from Higashi's side in order to block. So, Crippling Crush, Autumn stats, pretty normal stuff there, nothing too important. So, the good thing is that, Oceanol doesn't discard cards. That would be way too strong, so he could potentially protect the Crippling Crush by putting it in the bottom of the deck rather than discard it. But it looks like it will be used in order to protect. I'm guessing right now Bravo could be a bit pitch starved. So, right now it looks like 6 damage will go through the... No, sorry, not 6, 5 because of Crown of Seed, so 4 points have been blocked. That means that 5 damage will go through, and 2 cards from his hand will go to the bottom of his deck. So just a single card, so not a lot of damage gone through, so Bravo Star of the Show should be feel pretty okay with this, because not too much damage have been dealt, and even though Oldhim had, a 5 card hand, he didn't have that much pressure. So it looks like we will see a card in Arsenal, starting at the bottom of the deck, Crippling Crush being used, and I'm guessing Bravo's over the show with just a single card at this stage of the game. I don't think he really cares about swinging with Winter's Whale, so even if he could have a blue card, I think, because also the Tunic has the third counter, it's really great to have a card in Arsenal. So, Fyendal Spring Tunic being so amazing on Bravo side of the show, we would never have expected yet that, once every 3 turns you get to activate Crown of Seeds for free and get a fifth card in your hand. I don't think we ever expected this kind of use from Fyendal Spring Tunic into Crown of Seeds, and that's been honestly amazing in Bravo's Star of the Show side of things. So we do have the tempo is back to the Oldhim player, even though he has way less hit points. I'm guessing the Giannis Kouris stopped him in order to potentially could play an instant card. I don't know. Someone might say something like Awaken, but it looks like no. We will go back to Arsenal, and he will put a card in Arsenal and back to the Oldhim's turn. So right now the life lead has been a bit better. Oh, wow. Wow, a clean pulverize being played from the hand. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen this happen before. So a pulverize being cleanly pitching 10, 3 blue cards and Fyendal Spring Tunic and swinging for 14, so he was running pulverize. It looks like that Giannis Kouris on the previous turn, even though he could bring up pulverize, he chose to bring the Okenhold in order to start the disruption, and now he has this massive damage turn. But you know what happens if there is a too much grade of life difference in a Guardian, in an Earth Guardian mirror. So if Bravo chooses to take this hit, he loses no cards from hand, so his next attack might have -4, but he could run an Awaken himself. So also Starver could just choose to activate the Crown of Seed, get a 5th card in hand, and block for 5 cards, could potentially fully block the pulverize. But just that just keeps up the tempo, and most of the time you don't want to do that with a Bravo side of the show because you run just so many cards that do not have the full 3 armor value. That means that a lot of damage will go through even if you choose to do that. So most of the time that's not a great option from the Bravo side. So, but again, because we are playing right now without the ban restricted announcement, and the 9 autumn stats, I'm guessing, could be in both of these players' deck potentially. We could see, a full block because of how many 3 armor cards exist in his deck. So let's see what course of action the Bravo will choose to have. So there is a 3rd counter tuning. So right now, honestly, I think that Bravo can at any point choose to take the damage and swing back. And right now, if he has a disruptive turn, if he has a turn that could potentially threaten the cards from the Oldhim side, on the hand of the Oldhim side, he could potentially take the hit and start putting the disruption up himself, because he did have a life lead. He might lose the life lead, but it's the expense of buying the tempo back to your side. That's the cost. That's the cost of getting the tempo back to your side. So he could potentially right now buy the tempo for just 13 points of damage. 13 points of damage. I'm guessing it's fine. It's fine. I'm guessing down to 23, 22. So just 5-point difference, and having a 5 card, 4 card hand in his hand, he could potentially, if he has something to go in, like not infused Okenhold or something like that, he could potentially threaten back. But most of the time, well, this is not something to be expected every turn. Getting faced off with a pulverize is not something that's expected to see every turn. Yeah, Netezuma, it's interesting. Yeah, it's a weird pitch from the channel League Freeze. For me, it somewhat telegraphs that there is a defense reaction or he could potentially be pitch stacking a bit. No, but yeah, well, there it is, a red stone's response, so that was the reason. That was the reason why he chose to pitch like this and not activate the Fiendless Pink Tunic. So right now, Bravo has blocked for 7, 9, 10. So just 4 damage go through. So, and he has a 2-card hand right now, but remember his first attack there will have the -4. So I'm guessing Bravo has either no. It looks like a Winter's Bite has been kept. Well, he could fully block the last attack with a Winter's Bite by pitching a blue card and using Fiendless Pink Tunic, but it looks like that Higashi chose to at least attempt to somewhat disrupt the Oldhim, because he hasn't been really. He doesn't like the fact that, you know, Oldhim gets to play with 5 cards each turn, and it looks like he wants to force the Oldhim to activate to lose a card from his hand. This could potentially mean that he could also activate Crown of Seeds and get the free card in his hand. But still, it's an interesting play that he chose to lose 4 points of 4 points of block. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, stance respawn, you do have to pay an additional 4 if I'm not mistaken. Let me find up this bit. Yeah, you do have to pay 4 for the stance respawn here, so he did have the option to block an additional 4 to fully block the pulverize, but it looks like he had an interesting choice, really, and let's see how much it matters, because right now we have seen stuff and the Knock-and-All being used in order to pay for the Winter's Bite. Wow, we might see a bit of a pitch-starved Oldhim there, and honestly this could be a really interesting play from the Bravo side. This could very easily be an Knock-and-All that was played from the side of Oldhim. So the Knock-and-All still in the deck. We might see the Knock-and-All delayed, and it looks like we will see just a Frostfang, so an Earth card being pitched. I'm guessing he could be pitched starved, he could be, you know, yeah, that's a nice point, Nekezume. So he could be just setting up the Awaken for a later turns, and we've already seen one Awakening, so that means that having the extra, you know, even the threat of an Awakening into an Knock-and-All could be good. He could choose to still have the one additional copy of Awakening in his deck, rather than just rather than to even activate the last activation, because right now Knock-and-All, even if it's a great card, it doesn't hit for a lot. Knock-and-All doesn't swing for a lot on this style of play, because, you know, Bravo just have all these huge attacks. When Bravo Star of the Show goes off, he goes off. There are huge numbers coming from his side, and Red Frostfang, so this virtual Command and Conquer that has been called by many players. So pitching 2, swinging for 5, meaning that most of the times you do require 2 cards to fully block it, and it will strip you of a card. And because, you know, Bravo Star of the Show, because of Crown of Seed, is now susceptible to getting hit by a Command and Conquer. He doesn't really care as much as being hit from a Command and Conquer as some other decks. So Frostfang is one of these great disruptive kind of cards. So let's see how the Bravo Star of the Show will choose to block this round. So it looks like just 1 point of has been used for Crown of Seeds. I don't know if Bravo Star of the Show, we could have seen, you know, the 0-cost defense reactions being played by a lot of players. We don't know. And oh, there it is, a red pummel into a Frostfang. Oh god, oh glory. So swinging for 9 and discard technically 2 cards, one from the pitch for the Frostfang and an additional card with pummel. Wow, and that's a great disruptive turn and deals a huge amount of damage. I mean, dealing the full 8 down to 23, and forcing the Starvo to lose 2 cards from his hand. So even though Bravos did have the full 5 cards of hand with activating Crown of Seeds and Findle's Pink Tunic, that means that he could potentially pull off, a Bravo activation into an Earth for 9 Dominate Goyen and so on. But what's for sure is that he cannot pull off a disruptive card with just 3 cards in hand unless he has, I don't know, he has something like a dual fuse and a lighting and and the Nockenal being discarded. That has to feel really, really bad. So a blue breakground being pitched in order to be protected and the Nockenal for being discarded. So I'm guessing there is a great chance that Bravo there had the fused Okenol there, and it looks like, yeah, we will see the Bravo activation. So an Okenol has been dodged from Kouris, and we will see a 9 Dominate Go again Evergreen, which is just okay. It's way more okay rather than having an 11 Dominate Go again Okenol hitting you. So the Pummel there managed to disrupt enough in combined with the Frostfang, so it looks like this is, and Oldhim will be in the same spot many times on this game, and again because it's 9 points of damage, he can choose to take them, go down to 19, having a 4 life difference, and buy the tempo back to him. Right now it causes to that's the cost he has to pay if he wants to have the tempo back to him. So yeah, Nakazuma, that's a great point. If right now Oldhim chooses to, he can potentially pitch a nice card and strip the card from Bravo's hand that could potentially threaten a swing with Winter's Whale or most likely an Arsenal card, and that just reduces so much more the chances that Bravo has to get the full Bravo Star of the Show activation during the first cycle of the Bravo deck. So it looks like that there are a lot of things to be considered, because the thing is right now that all of these options are great for Oldhim, but there is a great cost, and the cost is that he will not be able to swing back greatly right now, because right now if Oldhim has a nice reaction, that means he has 3 cards in hand. It's not easy to pull off a disruptive turn with 3 cards in hand. If he wants to do a value block and do a nice reaction, that means that he has just 2 cards in hand, and that adds up to the point that his turn could be just a Winter's Whale. So right now it really depends on what kind of hand the Oldhim has, because he really wants to keep the pressure up. Bravo right now really wants the game to slow down, and it looks like, wow, he will take the full 9 down to 19, and so it looks like he will pay the price and keep the tempo, and it looks like Bravo Higashi will respect that and be like, okay, 4 more damage won't change anything. I want my Arsenal card, I want things to slow down, I want to be able to utilize my Crown of Shades, because if the game goes on like that, if the game goes on with all these tempo blocks, I do have the more powerful deck, I do have the more powerful archetype, which is the 3 element the Bravo Star of the Show thinks. So the sheer value of the deck is probably the stronger point that Bravo Star of the Show wants to play into. But we are back to the same spot. Oldhim, Grandfather of Eternity, has a 4-card hand, and we've seen him pull off really, really, really interesting things with his 4-card hand. Really, really interesting. Oh, and Deja Vu and an Art of War being pitched. Wow, we haven't seen this card being played much outside of matches like against Prism or Dash or stuff like that. So it looks like, well, a Pummel will be telegraphed again. I mean, choosing to take the 9, having 2 cards in hand, a Pummel is greatly telegraphed right now. And that's a really, really interesting point from the side of Bravo, because even though if he does know about it, I'm not sure how much he can play around. And it looks like we will see a Blink being pitched in order to activate Crown of Seeds. And having in Guardians, having this amazing tool Crown of Seeds on the Elemental Guardians, having this amazing tool Crown of Seeds to use and be able to, it's way more easy while deck building to have cards that have the dash on the armor value, when you can pitch them and virtually gain some block, and that's what happens with Crown of Seeds. And because we've already seen one red stance response, we could see also yellow stance responses, or something like Turn Timber, another 2-cost defense reaction. So there is a great value in pitching a blue card. From the other side, if you pitch a blue card and do not fully utilize, just playing card to gain 1 life is not such a great value. And it looks like we will see a block of Autumn stats to a total of 4. And it looks like right now the Frostfang has been blocked, and let's see what the Oldhim will choose to do. And it looks like no, he will pass his turn. He will not push further. He managed to take 2 cards from the hand of Bravo Star of the Show. He chooses not to play his pummel into the 2 floating of Bravo Star of the Show, and that was a read. If Bravo Star of the Show did have the defense reaction, he should feel really bad right now, because his card is somewhat stuck right now. He can only probably swing with Winter's Wail and put a card in Arsenal, and that's not so great. But whoa, it looks like we will see a Crush Confidence being played. So that was a great turn, Crush Confidence. Wow. Probably one of these cards that have been seen some play in the Bravo Star of the Show mirror, because having this 3-cost 7 attack in Bravo Star of the Show is just so important, and the effect is somewhat relevant in the mirror match, because 9 Dominate Go again means that it's pretty easy to get the Crash effect, and the Crash effect means that the opponent Bravo Star of the Show cannot activate it. But I'm guessing on this list right now for this matchup is just the Tempo 3-cost 7 attack that doesn't have much of an effect, but it's still a 3 for 7, which is somewhat relevant. So 3 for 7 right now, and again, because the old team didn't manage to do enough things to their last turn, and he again is faced with the same option that it's a 7 attack card. Having your full hand, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep your full hand and potentially threaten a pummel, or do you want to do the value block and swing for a bit lower? And honestly, Bravo right now really wants to force the Oldhim into the position of blocking, because if that happens and Oldhim is not disruptive enough to destroy one of the Bravo Star of the Show turns, that just means that that Bravo will start to pulling off these 4 and 5 card hand turns, and that's not something you want to happen. And he already has a 23 life total. He is healthy enough to survive a bit more hits, so Oldhim has managed to protect his equipment. He has managed to protect his Crater Fist and Ironhide legs, so he does have, from a potentially disruptive card, he could potentially pull off a full block with all of his armor pieces. But right now it gets to this point where Bravo wants to go. His numbers just add up. So this could be an Enlightened Strike. Enlightened Strike for 7. Just deal with it. Deal with my 7 attack. It's not my problem, it's your problem. It looks like we will see the Show of Tomorrow, the value pitch Show of Tomorrow in order to activate Crown of Seeds, and I'm guessing Rampart, unless we see some defense reaction from Oldhim Grandfather of Eternity, because again it's the same thing that we could see Stone's responses being played from Oldhim, we could see Turn Timbers being played from Oldhim, and we could see a somewhat value block from the Oldhim side to fully block the Crown's Confidence, and that would be something that really the Oldhim player would love to have right now, to have this value block, since he wanted to commit a card. But also it could be that the 4 cards are enough, and do a block with Rampart as well. And oh no, Oh, there is another card. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just rushing too fast to. I forget about the ban list all the time. There is another card that can be played with 2 floating while being at lower life total. Which card could be that? Who is the Caltripped? So, I'm guessing, yeah, Oldhim could take the full 7, down to 6, sorry, because of Chronoseed, down to 13. It looks like, no, we will see a block with a red Frostfang for the value block of total of 3. That means Seeds of Agony, yeah, and I zoom out. I would hope so, yeah. I would really hope so to run Oldhim with Seeds of Agony. So, right now it looks like that 4 damage will go through, and it looks like that probably, yeah, I'm guessing we will see an Awakening. There it is, the Awakening, no fuse, 8 life total difference, and remember there is a Knockenold. There is a Knockenold, there is no Earth card, yeah, there it is. There is a Knockenold, so right now we could see another disruptive turn from the Bravo Star of the Show side. So the thing is right now that if Bravo Star of the Show did have something like a Stone's Response, last card in hand, with the 2 floating that he virtually wanted to show us, that means that if this card is a Stone's Response, we could potentially see a full block from the Okinold side. And that's something to really keep in mind. But I'm guessing the way his turn went, he probably didn't have it, but also from the Oldhim side, Kouris could also threaten. And oh wow, wow, a Pulverize being played from hand again. Not having enough Seismic Surges to fetch the Pulverize, but creating enough to be able to play it from hand and having a Knockenold for the next turn. Wow, just a huge turn. So, but 14 with no discard from hand effect means that, again, Bravo could buy the tempo. Bravo could take the 14 down to 9, and after all this time, play with a 5-card hand. And there are a lot of cards like a fused Crippling Crush, a fused Okinol that even with the -4 might still be able to force a lot of cards from Oldhim's side. Also, if the card is a Stone's Response, he could do a great full value block, because we are starting to get to this point where we're starting to get to this point where the life total starts to matter. So Rock and Troll says Awakening balanced. Yeah, man, I don't know. This card has been just bonkers, and this is again one of those games. Why exactly, especially on the Elemental Mirror decks, on the Guardian Elemental Mirrors, that just how bonkers this card was. I mean, come on, just taking 5 points of damage and making 8 Seismic Surges, and playing a casual Pulverize with 3 cards in hand because you have 7 life total level and swinging for 14. I mean, come on. So, but, well, it could be that that's probably the last Awakening we see, unless the Living Legend format becomes a thing. I'm guessing, I don't know, we might not see Awakening being played even there. So, the thing is that right now, it really depends on what kind of hand Bravo Star of the Show has, because, honestly, he could do the same line that, if he has the block cards, okay, block 12, take 2, down to 21, you are 15, I am 6 points of life ahead, you can have the tempo back, but at some point you won't have enough disrupt to prevent me from playing. So it looks like we will see a Winter's Grasp being pitched in order to activate Crown of Seeds, so I'm guessing there is no way this is a Red Stone's Response, so no Red Stone's Response was in his hand on the previous turn. So right now, that means that the 2 floating could potentially mean a Stone's Response is being played from hand, or just a value block. So, if I'm not mistaken, Higashi mistakenly showed us a blue lighting card with 3 armor as well. But it looks like he wanted to dig in his he wanted to dig his deck for probably defense reaction or some guard that block a bit better, even though he had the card. McVagd says Oldhim and a lot of smiley faces. Yeah, it's so interesting to see Oldhim being played. Oh, he takes the 14. Having two floating. Did you know what that means? No, no awakening. No awakening being played. Okay, it looks like he chooses to buy the tempo for 13 points of damage. And let's see what Bravo Star of the Show has. So, after all this time, after I don't know how much time we've been live, how much this game has been going on, it's the first time during this game where Bravo will choose to have a turn with his full hand. It looks like no Bravo effect. A Winter's Bite being played with the Tunic active is interesting, but it looks like it really depends on what kind of attack we will see from the Bravo side. Yeah, okay, I missed the Tunic, but you know, it doesn't really matter. This is not a competitive rule stalled, so it's fine taking up the Tunic. And also Winter's Bite being played with Findle Spring Tunic up, so that really forces the old team. He wants to see yeah, fair no moment, yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, I mean, it will be the most, yeah, this should be written in stone that anytime somebody forgets to take up a Tunic from 2 to 3, this should be called the Fana moment. That's correct. So let's see. Right now, Bravo Star of the Show really wants to have a revelation from Oldhim's hand. He wants to know what he wants to do, and it looks like, wow, he will pay from Findle Spring Tunic. He will pay, and it looks like he wants to keep the card in his hand. He doesn't want to show up a lot of things. And do you remember that the last card in his arsenal is an Oakenold? So and Bravo knows that. He knows that the card in his arsenal is an Oakenold. So right now he really wants to disrupt Oldhim, because it's, you know, we've seen probably a really aggressive style of deck from the Oldhim side, from Giannis Kouris. Wow, and we see a swing with Winter's Wail for 0. Okay, so it looks like not a great hand from the Bravo side of the show, and just swing for 0. And it looks like, so the Pulverize will make use, because Pulverize, let me think, yeah, it's the first attack during their turn. Pulverize negates the first attack from being played. That means that the Winter Whale will swing for a total of 0, and it looks like we will see a block with Autumn stats there. Probably, I think that should be a mistake from the Kouris side, and well, you know, let's see if the let's see, yeah, okay, so, well, a severely move from Higashi there, reminding about the activation of Pulverize. And I remember, folks, yeah, it looks like Nikazuma, you're correct. Yeah, he forgot about the -4, and Higashi was kind enough to remind him. So severely between players there, and that's always great to witness. So it looks like that Bravo right now really got disrupted enough from the Pulverized turn. He didn't want to commit any resources, probably there was no need. And right now, Oldhim is on this sweet spot. He has somewhat of a life lead. That could not be a great thing if you consider Awakening. And oh, there it is, the Oakenold that we knew about, being pitched with Autumn stats, showing an Ice, showing an Earth. We did already know about these Autumn stats. And okay, 9 dominate, yeah, no good again, it's not Bravo side of the show. So 9 dominate, and it looks like we will see a Findle Spring Tunic being used from Crown of Seeds. So right now it means that 1 point of damage has been blocked, so just 8 more to go. That means that, you know, a staunch response could a staunch response just by being without being paid for the extra cost, could almost fully block with also the addition of either Stalagmite or Crater Fist. But I don't think there is any way to fully block the Oakenhold unless you do have a defense reaction, because right now the Bravo Star of the Show only has Stalagmite and the Crater Fist. That's 2, 3, up to 6 potentially. That's coming for 9. That's a bit too much for a non-equipment and not many defense reaction deck being played. So, but he does have 5 cards in hand. He could take the 8 if he really wants to live dangerously, and potentially threaten to have a turn. But I'm guessing he really doesn't want to see that, because we've already seen Oldhim running red pummels. So even though he should be respecting the fact that the last card in Oldhim's hand hasn't been revealed yet, and it looks like there will be this kind of respect and red autumn stats as Stalagmite and the Crater's Fist and the Tunic being used to block, because of just how much respect probably the Bravo has for the pummel. Yeah, Nakashima, that's correct. Yeah, there is no way for him to take 8, and it looks like no pummel there. It looks like 2 cards will be removed, and Oldhim should be really happy. But that's it. That's the last Oakenhold. That's the last card, and right now Oldhim, he has played 2 Pulverizes, he has played 3 Oakenholds, and Oldhim is with no armor at 8 points of life. And we could see him having a hard time closing up the game, because even though he could still have these great tempo turns, he doesn't have a lot of tools to keep the pressure up. And it's really interesting for this point, because even though right now Bravo is for the first time again in this game, he's both behind in life and he has lost the tempo. The tempo is back to the Oldhim. Oldhim doesn't have many tools to keep the pressure up, and here we see the value swing with Winter's Wail taking down some hit points from Oldhim. So it's starting to get close. We are going to the final turns of the game. So the Oldhim could right now do a lot of things from the tempo block, from you know, the 2 card block, and it looks like we will see an Awakening being pitched. I don't think at any point during this game Oldhim will be at a spot where he will both be able to play Awakening and be on a lower life total. He really wants right now the game to go on, and the game to he wants to keep cycling his deck and get as many options as possible, which is just so important. So the Frostbite could be a bit relevant right now, because he, you know, if you want to do a turn like the +1 Dominate, if you hit discard 2 cards with the hammer, I'm not recalling the name exactly, but you know, that requires a lot of times just exactly the 2 blues and these cards. So you need the 3 card hand, and having a Frostbite just kicks off the math in that equation. So right now it looks like 2 points have been already being blocked with the Rampart and the Crown of Seeds. So right now an Earth Defense reaction, or you know, a block from the hand from Oldhim could be enough to stop the block and prevent the Frostbite from the Winter's Wail. So it's getting to this point. It's starting to getting really close, and looks like he will take the 2 and make a Frostbite. So just a value block, using the blue card to virtually block for 2, which is something again that we discussed about blue cards with the dash in the block and Crown of Seeds and Rampart of the Ram's Head. So it looks like Oldhim will have a turn with Frostbite and 4 cards in hand. So, but there are not many ways to utilize Frostbite. Oh, wow! Wow, an Endless Winter being used. Just I was about to say, if Endless Winter wasn't his deck, because Endless Winter most of the time it's a great card in Bleach, but you know it's not threatening enough. 8 points of damage is not threatening enough to fuse or potentially threaten a skip turn. But right now, at this point, Bravo just cannot allow this Endless Winter to go through. There is no way for him to take the 8 or I mean take or any damage from the Endless Winter, and that means that he does have to to lose his turn. Yeah, Nakazuma, exactly. I mean 8 points of damage most of the time don't really matter in constructed. It's not a great number. I mean having a 4 card hand and swinging for 8 most of the time your opponent just laughs and takes the 8 when you play Endless Winter. But at this stage of the game, fused Endless Winter means that Bravo will lose his turn. Bravo, there's no way for Bravo to do anything on his turn when faced with Endless Winter, and probably that's the line we will see from Bravo. So 3 cards being used to block, getting 3 first bites, that mean that, well, yeah, no turn from Bravo side of the show. And these frostbites do nothing unless you've seen the spoilers from the new set. And these frostbites, when skipped, will do something, but that's another discussion for another day. Right now, we are at this critical point where Oldhim just wants to close up the game, and if he manages to do so, Bravo has 3 frostbites. There is no way for him to do anything in his turn. He draws up to 4 cards again, and we are on the same spot. Oldhim has the tempo, Oldhim has a card. Yeah, Nakazuma, stop destroying my dreams, mate. At some point I really want to play some combined heroes. Come on. Okay, so Oldhim really right now wants to find a way to push up enough damage, and having Endless Winter just gives him the enough edge for him to, if there are 3 copies of Endless Winter, he could potentially lock out. So, oh, and we see Channel Lake Frigid that has not, that probably doesn't feel good from the Oldhim side, unless he has, I don't know, an aggressive enough turn. So probably, you know, just a hammer, a Winter's Wail for 4 with a Channel Lake Frigid, attempting to freeze the Bravo side of the show during these final turns. So even though he doesn't have enough damage to pressure him enough, and Bravo side of the show could even take the 4 down to 4, there is a chance of him having finally, from the Bravo side of things, having a disruptive turn combined with a fuse. Yeah, but also exactly, yeah, Pummel is still a threat. Still haven't seen all the red Pummels. We've just seen 2 of them, I think. So Winter's Wail technically threatens lethal with a red Pummel, and that's a lot of damage. So Blizzard being pitched in order to play Winter's Wail, so 4 cards in Bravo side of the show hand. So Crown of Seeds being using 2 in order to play, and it looks like we will see the full block with Crippling Crush to the Winter's Wail, and no Pummel, no sweet Pummel there to just give this Frostbite. And it looks like the Oldhim is fine with maintaining Channel Lake Frigid to the 3 card Bravo side of the show. So 3 cards again are enough to swing for 9 dominate, are enough, but looks like no, we will just see a Winter's Wail for 4. And okay, Oldhim has to feel great about this, because even though the game slowed down, the fact that the Channel Lake Frigid was on the board means that Bravo didn't manage, because if you remember, he also pitched a Lightning card. So Bravo again had the activation, and the Channel Lake Frigid and the disruption from Oldhim was enough to disrupt him and not give him the 4 card hand, and not give him the 3 elementals card. And honestly, in this game so far, Giannis Kouris has made an amazing job into back-to-back disruption turns from his side, because again, this turn, if he could potentially hold his hand, was a 9 dominate, go again, swing with the hammer, 4 with a frostbite. And instead of that, we do have a Winter's Whale for 4. If you get hit, you get a frostbite, and uh, that's not great. So right now he did have the counter from Tunic. That means that with any 3 armor card, he can fully block the Winter's Whale. To fully block the Winter's Whale, and potentially having a 4-card hand in order to finish up the game, because again, Endless Winter could be great right now, but again, Endless Winter doesn't pushes through damage. And even though the decks are in a somewhat same position, I don't think it's easy for the Oldhim to keep the pressure up, because he has like, what, 5 more great red attacks. Could he be this greedy? Could he be this greedy to run like cards like a third? I don't think he could be running a third Pulverize. So Nakazuma reads, can you check the remaining cards in deck? No, because I'm on a spectator and tabletop simulator, I cannot interact with anything from the cards. So we can only witness what we see, and we can only witness what we have seen. Oh, wait. Oh, what's... So it looks like a blue card has been pitched in order to activate Rampart, and an Exposed to the Elements has been used in order to blow Crown of Seeds away. And yeah, I don't think he will give any... I don't think there is any point of giving a -1 to any equipment. So, Nakazuma, if I'm not mistaken, there is 1 pummel left, 1 red pummel, and the 3 Oakenolds have been played. 1 Endless Winter has been played. And from Bravos of the Show, I can really not recall. I think he has blocked with all 3 of his Crippling Crashes. So no more Crippling Crash from Bravos of the Show, and just with a single Oakenold. So there are 2 more Oakenolds in his hand. So so how many cards I have left? Okay, sorry. So there are 42 cards in the Oldhim's deck, and there are 42 cards as well in the Bravo side of the show deck. So even if this game has gone a bit long, because we've already been playing for about an hour and something, there hasn't been this many turns. And you know, Guardians pitch a lot, they don't, you know, always play all the cards in the hand, they pitch a lot. So but I don't think this game will go to fatigue. So a Command and Conquer being used. Wow, Oldhim running a red Command and Conquers against this matchup, which is interesting. Well, Command and Conquer is a great card to be used with pummels, especially if you're running the yellow ones, so having a lot of those. So it looks like we will just see a 2-block with Ice Encounter and take the 4. So right now, Bravo, it looks like he got a turn. So Bravo has 0 equipment left on the table. Oldhim has no arsenal, but it looks like Bravo Star of the Show will get a 3-card turn. He will show the 3 elements, a dual, lighting and ice, and an earthbreak ground. That means that he will pop his +2, dominate and go again, but I'm guessing he doesn't have enough pitch to, and he will swing with a 9, dominate, go again, with break ground. So let's see what Oldhim will choose to do. But the interesting thing right now is that, you know, the lighting ice card in his hand is not really good in Arsenal. Well, I mean, he could potentially, with just a blue card and the card in his arsenal, swing with an 8 Winter's Whale, but I don't think that's amazing. So right now, Oldhim doesn't really should care about using the ice reaction and how important it is, because the Crown of Seeds has been blown from the Exposed. So it was a bit late. I don't think it was that much relevant at this stage of the game, but still it should be okay. So it looks like Oldhim took the full 9. Alright, and it looks like Bravo Star of the Show chose to put the dual element in his arsenal. So, I mean, after taking the 9 it completely makes sense, or he could want to have cards that block for 3 in his arsenal. Oh, and there it is. Tear Asunder, the card I was looking for earlier. So it looks like 5 dominates. If it hits, get a Frostbite and discard 2 cards from hand. And that means that if he doesn't have, if Bravo Star of the Show doesn't have a staunch response, this Tear Asunder could just devastate him. So it looks like it will go through. He will take the 2, he will force him to discard 2 cards in hand, and wow, that means that he cannot even swing with Winter's Whale. Negazuma says Bravo looks like he hopes for a lethal turn. That's correct. Well, yeah, honestly, because if he manages to pull off the +4 to an elemental attack, that means if he manages to fuse it with his activation, that's definitely lethal at this stage of the game. But after this attack, I don't think Bravo will be ever able to play a turn with more than 2 cards from his hand. And right now, even the Frostbite was relevant, because if the Frostbite wasn't there, if the last card in Bravo's hand was blue, which, okay, honestly, he runs just a bunch of them, that means that he could potentially swing back for 8, and 8 means that Oldhim has to use a card, rather than play with 4 cards in hand, card in arsenal, and Findle Spring Tunic. So right now I think it's that to the point if, well, if Oldhim manages to find a card that both threatens lethal and could have the potential of being played by Pummel, and Bravo Star of the Show doesn't have the luxury of waiting around with defense reaction for the Pummel, I don't think this game is doable anymore. And okay, right now, so that's okay, come on, you have 5 cards in hand, 4 cards in hand, 1 card in arsenal, the Tunic is up, you swing with a Frostfang for 4. Okay, how many Pummels you have, dude? How many Pummels do you have? There is no way for him not to have a Pummel, unless, I don't know, he has the Iron Will of a God. I don't know. There is no way for him to not have a Pummel, and that's probably something that Higashi knows. There is no way for him not to use at least 1 with Crown of Seeds in order to cycle for a bigger attack rather than Frostfang while having this hand. So he does know he has to play around the Pummel. And the thing is right now that if he has to play around the Pummel, meaning that he has to block with 2 cards and potentially have the threat of blocking with an additional defense reaction from hand, that means right now that if he has the defense reaction and he does have the Pummel, again he has no turn, so we go back to the exact same spot. So we've already seen 2 yellow Pummels being pitched, but the deck has been shuffled quite a lot of times because of the awakenings, so we are not sure where their spots are exactly. So there it is. Oh, the last red Pummel up to 8, and that means if there is no staunch response, this turn could be the lethal turn. There is no Seeds of Agony to protect him, there is no, but we've been Darth Vader reads Doste Pamelatas to Lava. Alright, so everybody loves his Pummels. Yeah, everybody loves his Pummels. So right now, Bravo Star of the Show, if he doesn't have the red staunch response, the game is over. Okay, and it looks, I think he has 1 floating, he still has the Tunic, and yeah, I mean, Giannis Kouris has played an amazing game so far, so it's really the point of Higashi if he has the staunch response from his side. Oh god, the excitement is going to kill me. I don't know what happens. Does he have the defense reaction? Are they discussing why these hands move like this? Why they jump away? What is happening? Oh god, the 3rd red Pummel. Well, honestly, this game through, it's been exactly that. Oldhim just, no matter what happens during this final turn, I mean, Oldhim just managed to pull back to back amazing disruptive turns. I mean, when we witnessed the pitch cards or the card discarded from his hand, he had it all. I mean, we've seen on his 5 card hand having to being hit by an Okenold and losing his cards and blocking with the Okenold, and on the other hand when he will got hit by a Frostfang into a pummel, that he again had all the lighting cards in his hand. He could swing for an amazing turn, and it looks like that. I don't know. I don't know. It's been an amazing, and honestly we haven't much seen this style of Oldhim decks being played, and probably that's a great tech choice to face off Bravo Star of the Show. And honestly it's interesting to see which way the autumn stats, the autumn without the autumn stats, the decks are going to be without the without the autumn stats. I mean, because it was such a glue card for Bravo Star of the Show, and he could have potentially lose some points of block, but that means that but still that means that we could potentially see, you know, some cards like Evergreen getting more copies, so probably the more aggressive version don't really care a lot about the autumn stats being lost, and looks like the attack. What is happening? I'm guessing the attack got through. Okay, so anyway, and that's the way to go against Bravo Star of the Show, even though it's not easy. Honestly, it's not easy. A lot of decks have attempted to, you know, play the full disruptive kind of play style against Bravo Star of the Show, and it's not always easy to do that. And even though a lot of decks have tried to do that, you know, Bravo could from his side pull off these really aggressive, really disruptive turns as well, because he runs Okenold, he runs Crippling Crush, he runs Spinal Crush, he runs all these really amazing cards that could disrupt also the opponent. And because a lot of decks have attempted to do that, we've seen Rune Blades running cards that discard cards, we've seen, I don't know, older Bravo lists trying to do that, we've seen Frost Lexis trying to disrupt the Bravo as much as possible, but most of the time they just weren't enough because of the sheer value that Bravo Star of the Show was able to pull off. So, and definitely that's an amazing thing that we've seen from Oldhim, Grandfather of Eternity, that Kouris there managed to full block, and oh yeah, I think that's game. Oh god, that's game. We won. FAB managed to win 3-2 versus Darksiders. That was the deciding game. So congratulations to both players and both teams. Wow, so what a game. So Awakening. Do a quick poll. Is Awakening a balanced card? I don't know. After I witnessed this game, I'm way more happier that you know, the Awakening is off. I'm way more happier that, you know, it was the last time we've seen Awakening, and honestly in this game it has been spectacular. I mean, once it brought the Okenold, that was the first disruptive turn and forced the tempo to the Oldhim side, and then forced him to, and he allowed him to keep attacking all the way until Bravo Star of the Show was out of life. The second time where it brought the second Okenold and just created a bunch of Seismic Surge to play the Pulverize. Oh god, that card is bonkers, and probably it got to the point where it was probably a deck tech decision from the Bravo Star of the Show to not run Awakening, because of probably how he expected this match to go. He could expect probably the Oldhim to try and fully block the the Bravo side of things. But Giannis Kouris just went on and on. He played the Awakenings on the perfect time, gained a bunch of tempo, and managed to lock up the game. So, again, congratulations to both players. And so that was it. If I'm not mistaken, we won another round that pushes up enough to probably get to a better division. We will see it. We will post some information about what other games we are going to show. So, nevertheless, thanks very much for being here. We will try to keep up the content even if the City League is not here. We might see some future matches being played. So, because everybody is also hyped about the Pro Tour that's coming up, so Constructed still has a lot of things to show us. So thanks very much for being here. This is your host Saxo. If you like the content, please leave a follow, like and subscribe. It really helps to grow up the channel. And thanks again for being here. So see you around, and don't forget to play some Flesh and Blood games. See ya.